StraightAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, what do you hate? Yes, you heard me right. What do you hate is the topic of today's show. But before we get into that, let me remind everybody, I send out a daily motivation text message free of charge every single morning to everybody in my text community. This message is guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. All you got to do to get it is text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And every morning when daily motivation text goes out, you'll be receiving that message straight to your phone. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is where I do all of my coaching. That is where all of our courses are. That's where anything that goes above and beyond what we talk about here on this show is at. And those of you who are listening to the show, you need to go above and beyond what you hear here on the show. Because if all you needed was here on the show, then I shouldn't have to do any more episodes of the show. All right, because I already gave you, what episode is this? Let me see what number episode we got. We are on episode number, if my documentation is correct, I believe it is, episode 2663 of the Work on Your Game Master. I'm giving you 2663. And let's just say each episode is about 20 to 30 minutes. So that's at least 1,000 hours of material of game here when it comes to mindset, strategy, systems, execution. If this show had everything that you needed, then I don't need to make another episode. I should just retire the show right now and it's done. The point is, by deductive reasoning, you need more than this. So you get it by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. And there you can see what your options are for getting started in Work on Your Game University. But that said, let's get into the topic, which is, what do you hate? First of all, let's get a definition for the word hate. Hate means to feel intense or passionate dislike for something or someone. Today, we're going to talk about how this feeling, which many of you have been taught to ignore or avoid, or I don't know, maybe some mindfulness coach or some spiritual advisor telling you some bullshit has told you, they've been telling you to avoid this and stay away from hate at all costs. I'm here to tell you, fuck that. Hate is actually beneficial for you, because over here, we call this Work on Your Game for a reason, because the game that I'm talking about is about using whatever you have access to get access to the energy that will help you perform and produce results. Because over here, we're about results. We're not about the warm and fuzzies. I'm not saying the warm and fuzzies are bad, but if the warm and fuzzies are getting in the way of results, then the warm and fuzzies got to get the hell out of the way. Everybody follow what I'm saying here? That's where we come from here at Work on Your Game. So in case any of you didn't know, I'm the one saying it. All right, I'm standing on that. So you can send your spiritual advisor to reach out to me. They can send me a text message and I can tell them the same thing that I just told you. So let's get into it. Topic again today is, what do you hate? Number one, if and when you ever have trouble figuring out what you want. Any of you out there have trouble figuring out what you want? I was talking to someone the other day, type A personality gentleman, entrepreneur, hard driving guy who's all about, getting his financial freedom and building his business and making his money and doing all his hustling and all his stuff that he had going on. And I was asking him questions about what he wanted, and he had trouble answering the question. And that's completely okay. Some of you had trouble answering that question. What do you want? If you have trouble answering this question, here's what you should do. Here's an experiment. Flip the question around and ask yourself, what do you despise? You don't know what you want. Ask yourself, what do you hate? If you can't come up with a list for one of these, then you can come up with the other one. If you don't know what you hate, then you know what you love. If you don't know what you love, then you probably know what you hate. Some of you are lucky enough to know exactly what you want in life, and you can paint a very vivid picture of what it is and exactly how you want it to be. So congratulations to those of you who are in that category. You know all the things that are going to go on your goals list, and then you get to working on achieving those goals, which is a separate exercise, actually achieving the goals as opposed to setting them. But that's not the topic of today's class. However, some of you, on the other hand, have trouble deciding what you want. Maybe there are a lot of things that you want and they're not really connected to each other. They're kind of all over the place, like puzzle pieces to different puzzles, and they all spread out on the floor. Maybe you have a hard time even figuring out what you want. You can't even answer the question, what you want. And why is this? Because if you don't know what you want, I can deduce and guess that you probably have a lot of things that you don't want in your life right now. Any of you who doesn't know what you do want, I guarantee you there's a bunch of things going on in your life right now that are present, that you can point out, that you can see, you can feel, you can look at them almost, maybe literally look at them, and you know you don't want that. All right, how many of you am I speaking to right now? Some of you know exactly what you don't want because you're dealing with it right now on a daily basis. So those things, I want you to start writing them down. What are the things in your life that you hate? And again, I know your mindfulness coach might have told you that you don't want to focus on these things. You don't want to give energy to these. You don't want to give life to these things that you despise and these things that you don't like. I'm here to tell you, fuck that. You do want to give energy to them. You want to pay attention to them. Why? Because there's energy in them. All right, there's energy in things that you don't want. There's energy in knowing that you actively do not want something. Something is the bane of your existence, something that you detest, something that you despise, something that you passionately do not like. There is energy there, and energy is 85% of the job in life. Remember, energy is one of our 5 forms of investment: time, money, attention, energy, and focus. You need energy. So if you can find energy in something that you dislike, I want you to find that energy. Why? Because I'm going to tell you exactly what to do with it. So anything in your life that you do not want right now, I want you to make a list of the things that you don't want, that you do not want to exist, that you absolutely know you need to change. So any of you who's in that situation, you can't figure out what you want, you can figure out what you don't want, you will have no trouble making that list. So start writing them down right now. I'll tell you where I first thought of something like this. I probably heard it from somebody somewhere, but I'm thinking of the first time that I thought of it when I was talking about my personal self in my own life. It was about 2018. There was a speaking gig that I had booked, and these people were going to pay me a certain amount of money for the speaking gig. And they said, well, we'll give you a deposit of X amount right now. And I usually don't like taking deposits. Like, you book me for a speaking gig, you pay me my full fee. And when you pay me the full fee, that's when it's officially booked and the date goes on my calendar. We book flights and I'm officially speaking at your event when you pay me my full fee. But these people, because of the organization that they were with, I won't give any identifying details, because the organization they were with and the structure of their organization, they're like, well, we can't do that because the person who booked me, I got to go through this person, this person, this person. They will only allow me to do this, and then we'll pay you the rest. And then we'll pay you, right? Don't worry about it. We just got to give you a deposit first, and then we'll give you the rest at this point, this point, this point. So that was the situation. So they offered me, they gave me the deposit. And then when it was time for them to give me the rest of the money, there were all these delays. I'm talking to the point person who had actually booked me. And they're like, well, I got to go to this person. And they're sending me emails, like 6 people CC'd on the email. They all work at the organization. I guess this individual's superiors, bosses, and things like that. And they're all like, well, we got to do this and that. And I'm getting really fucking annoyed over this situation. And I wasn't even so annoyed at the person because they work where they work. I mean, they knew the situation. It was all the red tape and all this back and forth that we had to go through. And I got annoyed with the situation itself. And I got annoyed with myself because I'm like, I should never have allowed this to happen in the first place. I was mad at myself because I shouldn't have allowed that to happen. And I said to myself, all right, if I was a speaker who was 10 levels above the level that I am at, would this have happened? Would they have figured out a way to give me all my money up front if I was someone who was 10 levels above and they're like, all right, we're lucky to just even get this person speaking? Would they have given me this whole, we got to give you a deposit and give you the rest later and be giving me this runaround right now? The answer was hell no, they would not have. They would not have done this to somebody who had 10 levels higher prestige than the level that I had at that time. So I was mad at myself and I started making a list. That just sparked the idea of other things that was going on in my business that I didn't like. And I started writing things down, just like I just told you to do. What are the things in business that I do not want, that I will not accept, that I do not want to exist anymore? And I started writing them down. And I said, these things are not going to happen anymore in my business. And I haven't allowed them to happen. But now that I'm thinking about it now. There's some things happening in my business right now that I want to get rid of, higher level problems, but it's the same thing. It's setting these standards. What are the things that you're willing to get rid of and things that you hate going on in your life? This can be business and personal, by the way. And when you identify these, now there's energy in that. And now at least you know where you're going. At least, or you know where you're not going. Let's put it that way. Moving on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is what do you hate? Number 2, human beings. We push the strongest when there is something for us to push back against. You want to see a human being push as hard as they can. Here's the easiest way to do it. Push them first. When you want to push as hard as you can, you must have something to push against. You can't push against something that won't push back. You can't hit something that ain't going to hit back. It's hard to hit that because it ain't going to hit back. All right, it's easy to push something that's pushing back against you. You ever been in an argument? Anybody here? Anybody listen to this? Never been in an argument ever in your life? Okay, most of you have been in an argument before, right? How does an argument become an argument? It becomes an argument because both people are pushing. All right, that's what makes an argument an argument. An argument one person can't argue. All right, two people have to be involved in the argument. Even if one person does something to quote unquote start it, only when it becomes an argument is when both people exchange. Like if one person says something crazy, the other person doesn't have to say something crazy back. You choose to. And if you say something crazy back, now it can become an argument, but both people must be involved. It's like playing tennis. You can't play tennis if the other person won't hit the ball back. All right, so if you just hit the ball towards me and I refuse to return the ball to your side of the net, then we cannot play tennis. Okay? The whole point is, if either person is not hitting the ball back, then there's no argument. There's no push. So reversing this, if you want to activate your push in life, you need something that is going to hit the ball back. You need something that's going to push back. You need an enemy. You need a target. You need something to push against. Everybody understand? And you ever been to a boxing gym or ever seen a punching bag? You know what a punching bag is that boxers use, or kickboxers as well? And you ever took a boxing class or boxing training, something like that? How do boxers get strong? They hit that punching bag. That punching bag is filled with sand and is very dense and densely packed sand. So when you hit the bag, you got to hit it pretty hard to really make an impact on the bag. The bag is very heavy and it offers what? Resistance. That's what makes you strong, by hitting the bag, because you're pushing against resistance. Any of you lift weights? What is lifting weights? It is resistance training. You can use exercise bands. That is resistance training. You can even do calisthenics like push-ups and sit-ups. There's resistance happening there. And the more resistance you add, theoretically speaking, the stronger your muscles become. You need a resistance to push against. We all get stronger when we go against resistance. Some of you have, unfortunately for you, been socialized to not think about things that you don't want. And you've been told to get rid of, exercise and eliminate all negative energy as soon as it reaches you. Never tap into these negative emotions. I'm here to let you know that you were taught wrong. Whoever told you that did you a disservice. I'm telling you that these negative emotions can and often will activate you much quicker and much more strongly than positive emotions will. Everybody catch what I just said there? Negative emotions will activate you and you'll be able to tap into them much more quickly than positive emotions will. I talked about this in episode number 678. Why you perform so well when you're angry. Any of you who plays a sport, for example, and you get mad in the middle of the game because the opponent did something or somebody was trash talking, or maybe your coach said something to you that you didn't like and it got you angry. You notice how your performance went up relatively quickly. Your level of performance improved relatively quickly. Why is that? Because when we get angry, several things happen. And I laid these all out in episode 678. When you get angry, the first thing that happens when you get angry is you get focused. You ever look in a person's eyes when they're angry, you notice that their pupils get smaller, their pupils constrict, they get narrower. And when your pupils get narrow, what happens is your field of vision gets smaller and you're only focused on the thing that you're paying attention to. They call it tunnel vision. You're only focused on that one thing. You're not focused on anything. You don't see everything around you when your pupils are constricted. When your pupils dilate and they get bigger, you see everything around you. When someone is fearful or nervous, for example, their pupils dilate so they can see everything around them, because that fear causes us to be hyper aware of everything going on around us. But when we're angry, we get focused on only the thing in front of us and we don't even notice anything else is going on. So we get different responses, physiological responses to different energies. And you need to know what causes you to tap into these, because you can use them as necessary. Because there are times in life when you want to see everything going on around you, and there are times when you want to ignore everything going on around you. Can we agree? When we get angry, we get focused, we get tunnel vision. You know what else happens when we get angry? We usually go do something. You notice usually when people are angry, they don't just sit there and do nothing. Usually when we're angry, we go do something. We take some kind of action. Hopefully it's one that we can look back on and be happy that we did it, but we usually don't sit around and do nothing when we're angry. Now, when we're happy, we don't always do these things. When we're happy, we tend to relax, we take our foot off the gas, and we smell the flowers. And some of you are in situations in your life where taking your foot off the gas and smelling the flowers is the exact opposite of what you need to be doing. Some of you need to do the opposite. You need to put your foot on the gas, run over the flowers, and get focused. That's what some of you need to do right now. So you need to tap into the energy that actually helps you produce the result that you're looking for, not the energy that you've been taught is the quote unquote good or positive energy. Fuck that. You need to focus on the energy that produces the result, whether it's positive, negative, neutral, the energy that actually works. And understand there is just as much energy and positivity as there is in negativity. You just need to learn how to extract the energy from the negativity and not allow that negativity to control you. You control it. It does not control you. So this is about results. It's not about what's socially acceptable. Okay, over here, this is a results-based business. This is not a socially acceptable based business. It's a results-based business. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is what do you hate? This is a question that I'm helping you answer. A successful life for any one of us is a constant battle. A successful life is a battle, ongoing battle. And guess what you're battling against? You're not battling against other people necessarily. You're battling against mediocrity, which life is designed to make you average and mediocre. So you're battling against that. Any of you who is not average and mediocre right now, or you don't want to be, you're in a battle against mediocrity, because mediocrity is trying to get you every second and you're trying to not be mediocre. You're battling against failure. You're battling against fatigue. You're battling against complacency. You're battling against the pull of the average, because most people are average by definition, because most people just live life by default. So any of you who's not living life by default and you're not average, that's because you are pushing against that average. You are resisting average. Everybody understand this? This is not something for you to lament or try to avoid. Don't try to avoid this battle. You need to fight this battle, because if you avoid the battle beats you and you become average and mediocre, like most people. All right, look around at your coworkers, look around at your family, look around at people in your neighborhood. You'll see a lot of average people. They are losing the battle to life. Life is kicking their ass, and that's why they're average. If you don't want to be that, then you got to do something different than what most people do. All right, how many times have you heard me say that just in the last few weeks here on the show? This is all part of the game. And handling this is what makes you a high-level individual. Here's one thing I know about people, and from being a professional athlete. People who win the most in sports, you know who they are? Not necessarily the most talented. Actually, let me say not the most talented. We got any athletic coaches listening to this? We got any players listening to this? Do the most talented people win the most? Usually no. Maybe at the amateur level, maybe 8-year-olds. The most talented 8-year-old might beat everybody just because they have more talent. But when we're talking, we get to around the collegiate and the professional level, the ones who win the most are not the most talented necessarily. The ones who win the most are the ones who hate losing the most. People who win the most are those who most hate losing. Here's what I know from being an entrepreneur. Any of you who's in the professional space, in space around just anything around making money. Who are the people who make the most money? Are they the smartest people? Are they the people who have the biggest head start? Are they the people who have the most knowledge or the most talent or the most access to information? Not necessarily. People who make the most money in the business world are the people who most hate not making money. In sales, any of you in sales, who makes the most sales? People who most hate not making sales. In other words, people who perform at the highest levels in life do so not just because they are good at what they do. Usually they are very good at what they do. But there are other people who are good who don't perform at their level. So it's not being good, clearly is not the answer. And it's not because they practice a lot. It's not because they love success, even though all of those things may be true. We think of someone like Kobe Bryant. Was he good? Yes. Did he practice a lot? We think so. Did he love winning? I think so. It's also because they hate not getting the result more than they like getting the result. They hate losing more than they like winning. Michael Jordan once said the reason that he likes winning so much is not because he wanted to get the trophy, but because he didn't want anybody else to have the trophy. That's the mindset that I'm talking about here. People who make a lot of sales is not necessarily they love so much making the sales that they hate the feeling of missing the sale. People who make a lot of money is not necessarily because they love the feeling of being rich, it's because they hate poverty. In one of the early print versions, I heard Dan Kennedy say this in one of his old writings. He got an early print version of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Right? And Napoleon Hill was an advertiser, by the way. He was an advertiser and a salesman as well as an author. A lot of people don't know that. And in one of the early print versions of Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill put right there on the book, this book is for people who despise poverty. Not people who want to get out of poverty, Not people who don't like poverty, people who despise poverty. And that wording is very important. And if you know anything about copywriting, you know every word matters. Every word must earn its way onto the page. Despise poverty. If you can get yourself into this frame of mind of what you hate, you will probably get closer to your goal than you are right now. I'm not saying it's guaranteeing you're going to do everything just because you got this, but I guarantee you, you'll probably get a lot closer than you are today if you could just get yourself into this frame of mind. And most importantly, stay there. Let's recap today's class, which is, what do you hate? Hate meaning a feeling of intense or passionate dislike for something or someone. Number one, you have trouble figuring out what you want. Flip it around. Ask yourself, what do you not want? What do you hate? If you can't figure out what you want, you definitely know the things that you hate, and you need to start writing them down. Give them life, give them energy, put them on a piece of paper, write them down. Don't just think about it. Number two, humans push the strongest when there's something to push back against. You ever been in an argument? Understand an argument can only happen when both people are pushing. If one person stops pushing, there's no argument. You ever been to a boxing gym and hit a punching bag? What makes you stronger by hitting the punching bag? Because the bag is so strong, it offers a resistance. Any of you lift heavy weights? Why do you get big muscles? Because the weights are so heavy, they offer resistance to your muscles. That's why you get strong, because you're going against resistance on a consistent basis. People who are best at what they do are consistently facing resistance. That's how they get so good. The way, if you want to get stronger or better at anything in life, you need to be constantly facing resistance, not avoiding it and not trying to stay away from it, but going towards it. That's how you get strong. Number three, a successful life is a battle against mediocrity, failure, fatigue, complacency, the pull of the average. These are all resistances that you must fight. You must be willing to get in this fight, and then you got to be prepared to win the fight. Don't try to avoid this fight. You want to get in this fight. And here's one thing that I know from being a pro athlete. The athletes that win the most are the ones that hate losing. The entrepreneurs who make the most money are the ones that hate poverty. And the people who make the most sales are the ones who hate not making sales. It is okay to give energy and attention to the things that you hate. Why? Because we're looking for the energy. We don't care where it comes from, because we're in a performance and a results-based business. Whatever gives us the energy to perform, we take it, we use it, we produce results, we get rewards, and we get what we want in life. This will get you closer to your goals than your average complacency, positive, smell the flowers bullshit that you got from some bullshit mindfulness coach with a certification. You need to focus on what's actually going to produce results out here, which is what we do here at Work on Your Game, if you didn't know. All that said, text me. Tell me the best point you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894. And Work on Your Game University, you ready to get some real results and stop bullshitting around with things that sound good but are doing nothing for you? Come to Work on Your Game University and stop playing around with your life. And you ain't got that much time. You are on the clock, in case anyone hasn't reminded you lately. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all